So, ladies and gentlemen, let me greet you in the first and very rushed session of this meeting. It's always been a great meeting, but it's always been a very, very little time to, actually there's not much time to discussion. It's a kind of networking meeting. You introduce yourself, you say hello, that's what I'm doing, goodbye. That's pretty much it, that's what we're gonna do it. We have 8 minutes per, maybe 9. Per presentation, and then we'll answer the questions according to our best knowledge. So this is just an advertisement for the first slide that the Precision Nanomedicine is a new official journal of CLINAM. De Gruyter terminated the European Journal of Nanomedicine. Of course, everything is in there. It stays and remains. And I'm going to talk about in details after a little bit of introduction. So more about the landscape on publications in general, and some of them, a few words about the nanomedicine publications, because there are many very serious things about it. So the major trends in publishing, that's what is going on. Right now we have about 9 million scientists in the world. It is rising. In 2030, it was like 7.6, and more in general, more funding, especially at certain Asian countries, but less number of grants. It is harder to get. And what is also interesting, that the number of authors per article was rising to about 4. 4 articles, about the article per unique authors are the same in the past 10 years. So what it means, there is salami slicing, and you know what it means, that people are slicing up information and they publish as little information as it is possible because they are squeezed for publications. 2.5 million papers, that's 2 years ago now, 3 million papers. That would require just way more, about 20 million of reviewers, which is not there. There are altogether everybody, social sciences, like about 9 million. So there are different trends, but the present system definitely motivates others to publish more, but not better papers. It doesn't mean there are no better papers, but it definitely the more is. And the reason, in my opinion, is that interest of science, business, and the scientists, that's a system that has to be balanced. Either one of them is taking over for a long time. That is bad for overall all the three. And that's how we started. So science was happy, and the very general people were okay with that, and that was not a good business at all. The first SCI Journal of Philosophical Transactions, Henry Oldenburg, he barely managed to maintain his house, but he has published the first really scientific publications. And so that was a bad business for world humans for a long time ago, in 1665. Of course, technology was different and so on. And now, after the computer and the fourth industrial revolution, that is hardware, software, big data, and AI, that is completely changing the landscape and transforming the landscape. Now, business is very happy. Commercial publishing is the most profit generating, the highest profit generating like that. So like 30% in ROI, return on investment. And BMW is about 10%, and good biosimilars in pharmaceutical 15%. So no coincidence that the people are unhappy right now, and the science, in general, the level of science that you can find is not absolutely great because of the dilution. So how was it at that time? It was the writers, authors were academic professors, authors and corresponding reviewers, everything. It was a rank to review to a journal because there was just a few. And now what means that junior scientists and postdocs and students are writing basically papers. We all know that. And the professors are reviewing and then sending in the feedback, then reviewing again, then they put it back. You know the cycle. So And which leads to a strange thing that postdoc students and regular scientists are reviewing academic leaders' papers virtually, and everybody is unhappy that, oh, there are no good reviewers, and the reviewers doesn't understand what I'm writing, but themselves very little contribute. Basic science and much burner and the distribution, paper, print, electronic, and online, you all know that. So that balance, again, I go back to that. It's a must to balance these three, because otherwise it cannot exist without each other. There is no science without scientists, and there is no publishing without scientists. But as the same way, all participants have to adjust to the situation. So the authors' existential interests have changed, but for many young scientists, publications, publishing is more important than the dissemination of research. It's very different for established scientists, high-level academic professors, because they don't care anymore about their position is great. It's not, it's tenured, it's forever. No, I'm serious. And then they have the luxury of caring more about the content. And there is the answer to this, unfortunately, there are dishonest answers. The gaming IF, the impact factor. We all know that again. Ghostwriters, peer review scams. There are companies now that are willing to write a peer review for a publisher. So, yeah. Fake colleagues, they wouldn't believe it. Fake articles and fake impact calculations. So they're all fine. It's not a horrible problem, but it is a problem. So they are stated at the present endpoint now. Most publications is now to justify a grant application or make it possible to students to graduate, and the real endpoint should be improving health and improving science. Recent events in publishing, just as interesting ones. So we all know, you guys all know ResearchGate, familiar with it. ResearchGate got sued by ACS and Elsevier, because ACS is not the American Chemical Society. ACS is the publishing company of the American Chemical Society, because of the articles they share. There were new databases created. The Dutch, French, German, Sweden university, they canceled agreements with Springer and Elsevier, so it's getting tough out there. Korea already has reached an Elsevier. Springer Nature tried to go public, and then an IPO was withdrawn, because the public, the businesses, they did not evaluate according, so Springer thinks it's worth much more than the public thinks it's worth. And that led to the rise of academic-led publishing. Academic-led because it's really a society, journals, libraries started their own journals, and we at CLINAM, we started our own journal. Luckily, all these so-called predatory publishers, the forced the Bill's list, you know what Bill's list is, that was the list of predatory publishers and suspicious publishers. He received death threats, so he had to terminate his list. Although interesting that the list lives further on, somebody else is doing it somewhere and adding name. Of course, the dark side is if you focus on the negatives, we're going to end up being negative. It's not a huge problem, but it is a sensible problem. So now the US government and even Indian government is going to trying to take down these publishers. So finally, the Precision Nanomedicine Journal. This is a baby, 7-month-old. We're over on the second issue. We have a booth. You can stop by and see high-level articles. Right, the editorial board members wrote all of them. Most of them, or almost everybody is presenting at this meeting who already wrote. We demand quality, so we try to balance this. We demand quality to provide help to the authors. There's a category which others usually don't use, that is reject with hope, which means come back. It's not ready, why don't you finish it? We help you what to do, come back, and we will be happy to publish. It worked very nicely. The competitive advantage, is that we are a non-profit publishers. There's a respected board. Again, you can see all the names. The associate editors and editorial board members have about 10,000 citations, and the honorary board, the supporting cast like Hezi Barinholtz and Don Tamali and others, have about on average like 30,000 citations each. So there is not just volunteering. Then a continuous publication, about 1 minute left. I'm going to use my authority to add myself for 1 minute. The HTML pages are a little bit different because they are optimized for computers who are scanning now the web 24/7 by average, and every scientist reads about 5-6 hours a week. So that's the freely downloadable PDFs and XML files also. And everything is open, non-commercial license, and there are a number of challenges, and we will see how it works out. We do our best. There's a famous saying that what's the baby good for? Don't know. He or she might actually grow up and become smart and strong if parenting is right. So with that, I'm going to close it, and you can submit your manuscript at a PR Nano. It's easy to remember, PR Nano, okay? Thank you very much for your attention. If you have a question, I'll try to answer in according to my best knowledge. Yes, please. Please, Olivia asked me to talk to the microphone because it's being recorded. So watch out what you are asking. Just kidding. Yes, it is an open access journal. There is no submission fee for now. There is some CLINAM support, financial support, so all the publishing costs, because real publishing costs like $350, $400 per article. That is covered by CLINAM right now, and hopefully it will be covered next year as well.
Another question is, how does the review system work? A review is anonymous or reviewing?
It's that's the reviewers are anonymous, but the reviewers know who they are looking at and who they are reviewing. I have 7 more years under my skin as a Nanomedicine NBM editor-in-chief, so I am perfectly satisfied with the system. We tried many different ones and doesn't work better than like that. However, there is an opportunity, and there is an open opportunity to discussions. And I say every scientific argument will be considered. So the argument that the reviewer forgot to read my paper, that's not going to work. And then back and forth. We usually ask the reviewers to give the best professional view of the whole thing and leave the politics to me. Because there is always a little bit of politics. Let's say there is a questionable manuscript comes in from the US, that's probably going to be recycled somewhere. If that same comes in from Namibia, that's probably will be accepted. Because there are so different, we try to bring up nanomedicine, try to apostolize it, and one can argue with this approach, but it is certainly there are great differences in the world. Or South America is another one. This is upcoming. Very, very little support, with very little support. Any more questions?